Welcome back, everybody. The History Guy here in the home stretch of the Union Legendary Campaign on Ultimate General Civil War. This is MULE, which is the main assault by the Union during the Battle of SPOTSYLVANIA Courthouse. And I don't want to lose a ton of men on this one trying to assault this fortified position. So I'm taking as much artillery as I could possibly come up with. I still have about a 12,000 man disadvantage in this fight. And he's got a lot of guns too, but I've loaded up my assault as much as possible with artillery. We're going to sit within range and just try to assault just bombard his position and cause a breach in that line that we can exploit, and then hopefully cause him to counterattack and just wipe his army out trying to fight me. So I don't know how this is going to go. Haven't played this battle for a long time. So we're going to go ahead and start getting in position. I'm going to try to line up right along here and just throw in all of my artillery, and hopefully as daybreak comes we'll be able to get a view of him and maybe try to punch a hole right in here. The objective, and there's only one, it's right down here. Now I could try to march around the side, and I just feel like that would take a long time, and no matter what I'm going to have to go through fortifications somewhere, and if I do it down here on the side I've got to cross this water, and I think it just gets harder. So we're going to stick with the path of least resistance, I think, which is just to go with the closest area. So I'll get set up and ready to go. Okay, so here we go, and we're coming under his artillery fire pretty heavily already. Unfortunately, I can't see much of his artillery yet. There's some right there, and I'm actually going to pause here because I want to get all of my long-range artillery targeting those guys right away. Put them out of commission as quickly as I possibly can while I can see them. And then basically what I want to do is I want to break through this initial line so I can get close enough to really see the rest of his artillery. I'm hoping he'll maybe send some guys out at me. I'm just not entirely sure he's going to do that. Oh yeah, we're going to light that guy up real quick. Problem is we're going to run out of supply really fast. I think I'm going to move over this way a little more. At least into these woods here. If he does come up at me, I've got a lot of 24-pounders sitting here. Alright, we already took out about 2/3 of that battery. Alright, he's lost 9 of his 216 guns. My hope is to take out every single one of his men and his guns. Early on in this fight, it's going to be pretty even. I would imagine the first 3, 4, 5,000 casualties are going to go about the same on both sides. But once I can break through and I can get myself down to this line right here, we can start really causing some damage. And hopefully this is one of those battles I can completely wipe him out, even though he has a numerical advantage to start. It's just going to be a matter of that initial kind of breakthrough and hopefully having enough supplies to finish him off at the end. Let's get these 24-pounders moved up. I'm going to want to have them right behind my main line when I get up close enough to start hitting this, because if I try to shoot it out with this guy, it's just going to be a nightmare. Alright, wiped out the first battery. He's already lost 27 guns. So I want to stay in these woods as best I can. Let's actually get all of these guns firing on Stuart now. They're not going to do a lot of damage just because he's so heavily fortified. I want to push through and grab those supplies before he uses them all for his own artillery. Let's go ahead and move up some of these 1-star units to lead the assault. This is the trickiest part. If I do this first part right, I can minimize my casualties for the rest of the battle. Because once the battle really gets going, it'll be pretty easy. So I'm going to try to push up here. And then bring the 24 pounders in right behind. Oh, he is going to send a unit out. Awesome. Even better. Let's back up and let him do that. Still want to bring these 24 pounders up though. Alright, right now, he's got me by about 12,000 men. Oh man. Oh, that's close enough, 24 pounders. Go ahead and shoot it out here for a little while. Get another brigade on him. I should have all day. This battle, let's talk, I guess, a little bit about the historic battle. Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse was not just this one-day attack on the Muleshoe, even though that lasted for like 22 hours, and most of it during a pouring down rainstorm. It was probably some of the bloodiest, ugliest fighting of the whole Civil War. I can't even imagine what that was like. But Spotsylvania was the third bloodiest battle of the American Civil War. The only two that had more casualties were Gettysburg and Chickamauga. And so you had 3 of the 5, because I think Spotsylvania, Wilderness, and Chancellorsville were probably the 3rd, 4th, and 5th bloodiest battles of the war. So you had 3 of the 5 bloodiest battles of the war fought, and then you throw Fredericksburg in there too, and you've got 4 of probably the top 6 or 7 fought, all within kind of a, I don't know, 20-30 mile area. This was all in that kind of area to the north, northwest, and west of Fredericksburg. And so you have these battles, Spotsylvania and Wilderness, being fought in kind of the same area that Chancellorsville was a year before. And you can actually see some of the photos of some of, because of the rain and because of the winter and all that stuff, a lot of the bodies which had been buried in shallow graves had become exposed. And so you have men coming back and fighting on the same battlefield and seeing the bodies of their dead comrades being exposed from the battle the year before. And of course, you can imagine what that does to your psyche, and then you've got to assault a position like this. But again, this was not a tactical victory for General Grant, but strategically it probably was, because after this battle, again, he sidesteps and he goes again closer to Richmond, ends up at Cold Harbor, which is probably one of the biggest disasters for the Union, certainly Grant's biggest disaster of the war. And so Grant had 100,000 men at this battle, lost about 18% of them, 18,000 or so. Lee only had 50,000 men at this battle, but again, he lost fewer men, but a higher percentage, lost like 25% of his army. And so Grant could replace those losses, Lee couldn't. And I think that if Grant did have any genius at all as a commander, it was his understanding of the strategic situation, and his willingness to do difficult things in order to achieve that. But I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that Grant was a great tactical commander. All right, we're going to have to push through because we are just not causing enough damage, and I'm going to waste all of my supply trying to shell this fortification. So we're going to have to try to get close enough to actually do some damage here. I've lost about 800 men. We've taken out about 3,700 of his. More importantly, I've taken out about 40 of his guns. All right, and there's a battery right there. So let's target that bad boy. I'll start inching in some more so I can try to get these 24 pounders in canister range. Obviously it's going to mean casualties for this infantry, but I've got to get these 24 pounders up close. Make sure all my long-range guns are firing on this battery. Alright, there's another battery right here, actually. Let's hit that guy, because he's up closer on my guys. There we go. Alright, he's got me by about 10,600 men. We've already knocked out over 50 of his guns now. He's down to just 160, but I've lost 5 of mine. There we go. We got up close enough to drive Stewart out. Now let's see if we can do the same to Ramseur. I'm going to hit this battery, because now we can get on the flanks of these other guys. I'm going to start leapfrogging some of these guns. Alright, now we've got 2 more batteries visible. 3 more, actually. So we can see the majority of his guns at this point. I need to take those out. Let me slow things down while I do that. I have to take advantage of the huge amount of rifled artillery that I have. All right, we've got him down to 139 guns now. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay. We're just going to keep inching forward. That's really kind of the thing here. I want to just drive him out. I want to take out his artillery. I have to constantly tell these long-range guns to fire on his artillery and not on his infantry. In fact, I think the easiest thing to do here is just to highlight some of these divisions, because most of my 2nd Corps is artillery. All right, we've got him down to just 122 guns, so I've taken out almost half his artillery. That's really the key for me in this battle, if I can do that. Oh boy. One of my orders ended up causing those skirmishers to go in. Got a battery out here. Let's see if we can bring Stanley around and nail these guys. Keep these 24-pounders moving. All right, down to just 105 guns for him now. He's still got almost a 10,000 man advantage on me, though. But again, that's going to change rapidly once I actually push through this area here. I think we're at the place where we can probably do that soon. As soon as I can get Perry out of there, then we can really put the pressure on Johnston. Oh no, we're not finished yet. Just getting started. There we go. Now we just got to make sure that we don't overcharge, so to speak. Alright, let's get up and hit this battery. There we go. Drive Hayes out of there. There goes Stewart. Alright, the bloodiest part of this battle should be over for me now. It should get a lot easier at this point, especially once we drive these guys off. I'm going to actually focus all of my artillery on them for now. See if I can come in and hit this artillery here. Alright, we drove off that battery. Now we're going to drive off this one. Alright, I feel like this is going pretty well. Alright, let's hit these guys back here. Here comes a counterattack. Which is going to get met with a lot of artillery. Alright, his advantage is down to 9,000. That's going to start closing rapidly. Now that he's losing the fortifications. Kind of a rough spot over here on this flank, though. There we go. Can't believe we haven't driven the Stonewall Brigade out of that fortification yet. Been firing on his flank for quite a while. There's no supply left. He used it all. So that'll become a problem for me trying to wipe out his army. His advantage is 8,000 men now. And my supply is empty. How many guns does he have left? He got 58 guns left. Let's take these things out. I'm gonna pull Loomis back. I don't like that where he's at there. At least not by himself. Let's get him some help. Now we're gonna bring up the 24 pounders. Stonewall Brigade's still sitting there. Let's bring Stanley up, get another unit firing on him. Oh, careful. No, 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 don't. All right, so I've lost about 8,500 men, but only 9 guns, and he's down to just 36 guns now. He's got this pocket right here I've got to deal with before I can push into these woods. Stonewall Brigade has been so stubborn. Oh, we just wiped out that brigade altogether. Alright, his advantage is down to just 5,500 men. Let's press forward down on this side. Try to drive Brian out of these fortifications. Had enough of you, Stonewall Brigade. I'm getting all of my artillery firing on you, even though they're all pretty much out of supplies. Alright, Stonewall Brigade's finally starting to falter. Alright, we're going to pause again. Alright, well, ammo's certainly a huge problem now for all of my units. But we've pretty successfully cleared him out of most of the fortifications now. Now we'll just keep driving through, and this is where we'll start to cause a lot of casualties. His advantage is down to just a 3,000 man advantage, and he's only got 20 guns left. And once I can park right at the edge of these woods and we can let him counterattack me, it should be a turkey shoot. We've got this one unit over here that's still occupying his fortifications. Even though the artillery is pretty much out of ammo, they can still do some damage, so we'll start bringing them in. Alright, we got him out of there. Now we can start swinging around, get in behind him. I'm going to try to avoid the objective for as long as possible to give myself as much time as I can to try and wipe out his army. Oh, that guy's going to cease to exist. Yep, there he goes. Alright, we'll slow things down a little bit here. I'm going to send a third unit over here to try and deal with Hoffman. Alright, so let's see where things stand now. Oh, there's the lone artillery that's left. Alright, and in about 5-10 seconds, we're going to have the numerical advantage on the battlefield for the first time. I'm going to drive this guy out of there. We seem to have misplaced a Confederate brigade. Alright, I've got him by 1,000 now. He's still got those 14 guns left. We gotta wipe out this battery. I want him to have no artillery. Oh, we found him. He snuck in behind me. Alright, there we go. We drove off that unit. Gonna try to avoid this objective as much as I can. Wonder if we can capture the Stonewall Brigade. Yeah, unlikely. There comes another Confederate counterattack. He's holding another fortification. I gotta be really careful here. I don't want to trigger that objective. Alright, all his artillery's gone. We've got almost a 5,000 man advantage now. Let's be careful not to go too far here. All right, I'm going to pause and then skip ahead a little bit. All right, we're in the home stretch now. I've driven him off. He's in these 2 fortifications with 5,000 of his men. That's basically a third of his army in these 2 brigades that haven't been touched yet. Actually, 3. All right, so 7,500 men in these 3 2,500 man brigades that haven't been touched yet. Oh, he's just now occupying this fortification. Which makes it a lot easier to drive him out. Oh, jeez. Okay. Completely forgot about this guy. So I guess we can pretty much see his whole army at this point. Looks like they're all coming back in. I might be able to capture this guy. Hoping I capture him rather than just wiping him out. Alright, looks like he's gonna get away. Alright, it's just a mop-up operation at this point. He's got just under 14,000 men left. Oh my, that's a big brigade coming this way. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and we will see what the final casualties look like. All right, so we got the last 2 units to surrender, and so this is what it looks like. Probably more casualties than I cared to lose there, but I'm not going to go back and replay this one. That's a bloody, brutal battle. I probably could have cleaned some things up, but just a hair under 16,000 infantry casualties for me, but we inflicted 44,000. Took out 163 guns, though I think the rest must have just dissolved. and 4,000 men. Also took out 1,100 cavalry and captured 1,500 men. So grabbed 5,500 of these CS Richmonds, which are actually some pretty decent weapons. But beyond that, didn't really grab anything as far as guns go. Let's go ahead and take a look at who had the best days here. These 20-pounder Parrots, 2,100 kills, only 4 losses. For the most part, though, my infantry, it was pretty even. My artillery did pretty much all the damage in this one, which is the way I expected it to be. Fighting Finns were right up there. This is, hey, anytime you're outnumbered by 10,000 men, actually more than that if you think about it, it looks like more like 14,000, 15,000 men. You're outnumbered by that many men, you're assaulting a heavily fortified position, and you come away with better than 3-to-1 casualties, I'll take it. So moving on now, and we get into kind of the final phase, I believe. That's where we're at now. Oh, we've got to fight Cold Harbor. Big major battle first, and then we get into the final couple battles of this war. So going to be interesting. I'll have some things to do to refit my army before we get into that one. Let me know your thoughts. I know there's some things I could have done better. In hindsight, I think the thing that could have helped me the most there would have been to have more highly experienced 2- and 3-star 20-pounders, those kinds of guns. If I'd had more of those, I could have done more sooner and probably saved myself. But that goes all the way back to earlier in the campaign. I probably should have spent more time building up those units. So I think with what I had available to me, I did pretty well. But certainly could have been better. So let me know your thoughts. Please hit that thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you again this weekend with the Battle of Cold Harbor.